Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me this evening. This evening on the 20th of the third, 2024, and normally I do my shows on uh, Thursday night, Saturday night, and sometime on Sunday night. But at times I have special shows that I sort of create because of special issues and special occasions. And tonight, the topic is going to be on mental health versus mental ill health. Mental ill health, mental health versus mental ill health. This is a topic, of course, which I wouldn't say that one is sort of creating or starting the flow of things. More, one is starting to sort of continue the conversation on something of such a high level of magnitude. There's many days which are called mental health days, mental health awareness week. But tonight is mental health night. My name is Sylbourne Sydial. I'm on the Sylbourne Show. Remember to like and subscribe. You can go to the YouTube channel. You can go to Facebook. You can go also to. I'm also on Instagram tonight as well. And yes. So listen. One of the first things I can say in regards to in starting the show, is that, and I put this into a good frame of mind. In the depths of the mind, there exists a realm where the shadows of mental health and mental ill health intertwine, shaping the landscape of our existence. It's a delicate equilibrium where the delicate dance of emotions can lead us to euphoria or plunge us into despair. Mental health, like a fragile butterfly, requires nurturing and understanding. Yet, mental health, like a relentless storm, can wreak havoc on our very being. For too long, society has whispered in hushed tones about mental health, shrouding it in stigma and shame. You know, many refuse to partake in this charade any longer. Mental health is not a taboo, it's a fundamental aspect of our humanity. It's a pulse that beats within us, the rhythm of our thoughts and feelings. And when that rhythm falters, when the melody becomes discordant, it's our duty to listen, to empathize, and to offer solace. So let us break free from the chains of silence and stigma. Let us embrace mental health with open arms, acknowledging its complexities and vulnerabilities. Let us be the voices that shatter the silence, the hands that offer support, and the hearts that beat in solidarity with those baffling their inner demons, I would say. For in the tapestry of life, mental health and mental ill health are but threads woven together, each adding depth and richness to the fabric of our shared human experience. And that's what my opening in regards to this. But I'm going to lead on straight to my guest tonight, who is Blaise. And she's going to come on and then she will tell you everything about herself and what she is about. And Blaise and ACHIENG is a founder of Liberty Social Enterprises in Kenya, an organization that supports persons with psychosocial disorders. And without further ado, I'll invite Blazan to the platform. Good evening, Blazan. How are you doing?
Fine. Good evening, Sydial.
Fantastic, fantastic. And how are you doing today in the UK? Is it hot
Yup.
sun, hot beach?
Mhm. That's true.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and on such a very important topic and at such short notice as well in the whole aspect of mental health and mental ill health. But first of all, if you can sort of tell persons who you are, if anything, Blaze.
There's nothing much about me, but my
Yeah.
name's Blazan. I'm a founder and a proprietor of Uplivity Social Enterprises in Kenya. It's
Mm,
majorly a social enterprise that supports persons with psychosocial disorders, which
yes.
most of us know as mental disorders. And most of the time is the referrals. What we do is engage them in support groups in activities that they can be able to find themselves and also
Mm.
be able to manage their behaviors.
Right, right, fantastic. Well, that's great, and I guess the this topic is something which is very dear to your heart, I would say. Um, in regards to
Yeah.
my opening, in
That's
regards,
true.
yeah, in regards to my opening, what's your thoughts on the opening which I gave a while ago? I don't know. I sort of hear feedback. Sorry. Yeah. Go on. Yeah. Yeah. In regards to the opening, what's your take on the opening which I mentioned about mental health and mental ill health, everything entwined with person? What are your thoughts on that? I think we're frozen. Are we frozen? Hope the computer is not having a mental health breakdown. um, Blaze, this is timely and ready for such conversations. Um, okay, I'm not hearing Blaze. I believe she froze a bit.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
I can hear
you're
you.
there. You're there. Okay, right. I think you're frozen.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, there you are. No, no, no. Your picture was frozen, so I couldn't hear you. Tell us about mental health then. Yeah, and break it down,
Okay.
please. Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead. If you tell us about mental health, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. Now,
Yes.
there's normally a lot of perceptions when it comes to mental health, but today we would want to understand it more because we have a lot of our brothers, our sisters, our friends, people in the community who are really struggling with mental health. And the best thing people can be able to judge, to do around them is to judge them. So when it
Right.
comes to the mental health in itself, this is a state of complete mental, physical, and even the social well being of this particular individual, and not merely the absence of an illness. By
Mm.
mentioning not merely the absence of an illness, somebody might be going through a different illness that might not necessarily affect the mental health. Then
Mm.
we have the mental ill health in itself, which now comes in and people takes aback. So, with the mental ill health, now this is the health conditions that normally affects the way a person thinks, the way a person can even be able to interact, and also the emotions of this particular individual. So, these mental health conditions or the mental illnesses, these ones can be like the bipolar disorders, depressive disorders. We also have schizophrenia. We have anxiety disorders, which most of the people feel like it's situational. Somebody is just anxiety because of a particular situation, and they normally don't want to accept it that it's part of the mental health. Then we also have another very severe condition, the post-traumatic stress disorders, which affect a lot of people even without their knowledge. Maybe because of the traumas they've gone through, maybe because of the challenges they've been going through. And every single time people say, okay, you'll get over it, you'll get over it. And this is where now a lot of issues people suppress and they're not able to voice it out. So if people can be able to understand these two, it will be easier for us even to identify the early interventions on when somebody starts possessing the signs and symptoms of mental health. I didn't get you right, Sidol, there. I've
Can you hear
lost
me
your
now?
voice.
You lost me. Okay, there we are now. There we are. You must can hear me now.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yes, I
Well,
can
ladies and
hear you. I
gentlemen.
had lost your
Well,
voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why my voice was lost was because I was muted. I muted myself. I had a mental breakdown for a second there. I wanted to say that there's Timothy Aluda, very nice topic of discussion. Many people um,
Mhm,
suffer in silence, and also Clinton Mabura. This is a timeline ready for such conversations. And
mhm.
Man Chiga, and this lady knows her stuff. And Madam Blaze is such a heartwarming human. You got a lot of fans here. What can I say? Well, thank you guys for coming on. It's very
Yeah.
important what you said in starting the whole thing, because
Mhm.
and one who is not a mental health expert, and one that goes in the park and do a lot of walking. Um, Years ago, when one hear the word mental health or
Mhm.
mental, you automatically think that the person is mad. You're not thinking about, you're not you, that is the thing. There's a place in Jamaica that's called
Yes.
Bellevue, so it's Madhouse or so.
Yes.
And then when you say mental ill health, now that's a different dimension as well. So you got mental health and mental illness. So let's break it down then.
Mhm.
Everybody has a mental health is like the equivalent to your physical health. Is that it? Break it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, when it comes to the mental health, and this is where sometimes we miss it out, we normally gauge mental health issues when it comes to the mental health model or the continuum, whereby
Yeah.
you'd find I'm a person with an appropriate mental health. Now, that
Yeah.
means I'm healthy. I might have, as I mentioned to you, with mental health, not merely the absence of illness. You might even be struggling with a chronic illness, but your mental state is upright. So you'd find when it comes to this continuum, we have on the four levels within the model,
Yes.
whereby there's this particular individual who's healthy. The mental health is positive. I can be able to go to work. I can be able to fed for my family. I
Yeah.
can be able, stressors do not affect me much. But then
Yeah.
as we go along, the pressure starts piling up because most of the time we have that particular container that we keep on placing a lot of challenges and problems within us. So this container is already filling up. Then I go now to the mild. Where the mild is, between the healthy and the mild, these ones are the points that we need to start having the early interventions. And most of the time, we assume this is where a lot of us say, get over it. We are getting over a baggage that somebody cannot be able to see. And this is how people start shutting down.
Okay,
Why
so
are
stop
you
a second.
telling?
So stop a second there. So when people
Yes,
say get over it, what you're saying is that it is difficult for someone to get over something which they don't know that they have. Is that what you're saying?
yes. Because most of the time, we don't realize we are getting into depression. We don't
Mm.
realize we are acquiring mental health. We just assume that, okay, fine, things are okay. And most of the time, that smile hides a lot of things. So we
Mm.
get into the mild
Yes.
continuum, that is the second level, whereby you'd find now the challenges that's hitting you. That is the reflective point. So now, someone maybe you used to tell this particular individual something, and the
Yeah.
individual would take it so easy. But now you speak up, and there's that facial expression the person will give you, like, what are you really saying? The next
Yes.
time is anger issue starts piling up. So this person will be reactive over things that are happening within the environment.
Yes.
Pressure at work also has made this person shut down. Maybe the person cannot also be able to explain what he or she is going through. Then we go overboard again and cross the bridge. This is the point now we look at the moderation, whereby you'd find now headaches starts coming in like migraines, severe ones that this person is continuously on medication, the headache is not going down. This
Is
person
that
now,
is that where it is going over into ill health?
yes, now we are going to the ill health. We started with the mental health. We are
Yeah.
walking, going, getting into the ill health. As I mentioned, it's a whole lot of model that people
Yes.
need to understand it, because we start as being healthy, where you're bubbly, you're laughing with everybody, you're interacting, you're
So
communicating.
you got a good mental health there. You got a
Yes,
good
you
mental
have
health
good
there.
mental health. Whatever happens around, you're saying, I'm strong. Then there is the mild, when now you start scratching your head and you're like, why? Why? You start asking yourself, why? Why is this thing happening? So as you
Mm.
get along, you've started reacting, anger starts piling up, the SADs, the seasonal affective disorder, starts coming up, whereby today you're happy, tomorrow you don't want to see anyone, you don't want to laugh with anyone, you don't want to communicate. Then we keep on getting into it. And this is where we hit the level of being moderate. Now, when it comes to moderate, this is where
Mm.
sometimes presentism and absenteeism starts piling in, whereby the person can even go to work Literally, the person's mind is not at work, but the person's body is at work. Sometimes
Yes.
the person just calls in and says, "No, today I'm not feeling well. I feel like I need to visit a doctor. My head is aching." Now, that's the stage. You need
Mm,
to start getting alert. So, this person automatically needs professional help because at one point we had assumed when he was posting those signs and symptoms, the anger issue started coming up, withdrawal symptoms started coming up. This person stopped communicating with people, and everybody was like, "Oh, why are you projecting to us this particular form of behavior?" And now,
yes.
when it gets into the serious stage of being severe, suicidal thoughts starts hitting, and everybody is telling them, "Why do you want to commit suicide?" Another person will tell them, "No, we really don't want your issues around us here." This is where now people take a backstage and they're like, "Oh, this person, he's the one who took himself to drugs and substance abuse.
Mm,
He's the one who did this and this and this. He never used to listen to us." You've already piled all these challenges and issues within you for a period of maybe like 3 or 4 years.
yeah.
Then, when you go into this professional, a medic, you want this medic to handle that thing within 1 day or 2 days.
Mm,
Yet, we have a lot of strain within this sector because, first, even the community does not understand what mental health is. Most of the time, we just assume that it's the challenges around and the problems that people cannot
if,
get.
if you stick a pin a while ago, you're saying that society doesn't
Yes.
understand what is mental health.
Yes, most of us do not understand.
So the work which has been going on for years, like Mental Health Day, mental health awareness, these should be days which are not just be seen as just a day, but it should be a continuous thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it needs to be continuous. Mental health needs to be stressed no matter what, because we are losing, and especially a lot of our youths, we are losing them into drugs and substance abuse. We are losing them into crimes because, one, that early intervention was not there. An early intervention can start as within the family setting.
Mm,
Once you realize that this youth, there is some behaviors that are not right, that is the point you need to start speaking out. You can approach even this particular individual, but most
yeah.
of the time we said, "No, she likes staying in the room, she doesn't like speaking with people."
Yes.
Yet it's already a sign. It's already a sign. Maybe the person is under the mild continent. "I need help, but who can hear my voice?"
Yeah. I need to ask this question. I need to ask this question though. And
Yes.
how did or for parents or
Mhm.
persons in the past, because it's like as we come into this new world, new era with social media and everything, it's like a new
Mhm.
zone. But what
Mhm.
happened many years ago? How did they deal with it? Was it is it that they are now is it that the world is now finding out about it, but it was in existence then? In what
Mhm.
magnitude? How did they deal with that? How did four parents deal with that?
Mental health was still there back in the 18th, 19th century, where you'd find most of the persons who had psychological issues were being institutionalized. This was forced institutionalization, whereby once they've realized, this is where the mad cow disease came on board, whereby once you've been realized that there's a problem with you mentally, there's nothing that somebody wants to discuss about it. The community itself will drive you to an institute where most of the time you'll be chained. And this is where you'd find it now became a crime. Why would you institutionalize someone instead of offering that particular support this individual person requires? So majorly they used to be treated as actually slaves, actually people who do not exist, people who are not even supposed to interact in the community. So we went for further ahead and started conducting the research on what normally happens in somebody's mind. And this is where the professionals came on board. We need
Yeah.
to establish the medical approach. So you find in the 19th century, it was about the medical approach. How well can we continuously support these individuals instead of locking them in asylums or even institutions? But mental health was really there. It was really there. It's only that they were segregated away from the community because they were considered people who are abnormal.
Mm.
in quotes. They are not people with will.
Yes.
So it's not currently because of the policy legislations coming on board. So you'd find a lot of cognizant has been drawn to mental health issues because there's a
Yes.
voice somewhere. There are activists or advocates like ourselves who are the voice of these people who nobody wants to listen to.
It's interesting. Someone just said a while ago, are these mental ill health genetically acquired?
With a certain percentage, according to research, we normally have something known as the psychological inheritance, which is still progressively under research because conditions like schizophrenia, they normally say that it's psychologically inherited, whereby you'd find, if I can take you back a while,
Yeah.
sometimes our parents, our forefathers, maybe some of them had various forms of mental health issues. It can be depressive, bipolar, schizophrenia. So you'd find the anger issues, you'd find the
Yeah.
anxiety issues, and most of the time we tend to project them not to the non living things, but we project our emotions to living things. So you'd find as a kid, maybe you were born up in a family, you'd find maybe your mother had anger problems, anxiety problems, and you automatically pick it because you'll be shouted at, maybe you'll be called names. And once with a small child, what we normally don't realize is
Yes.
kids normally pick behaviors from the actions they see in that environment. So once you continuously shout and call this kid names, it's he or she at that time is not a kid. It automatically gets programmed in the mind. So when this kid grows, this is where you'd find sometimes we come in and start saying, my mom used to do this to me. My dad used to do this to me. And that anger is literally inside of this particular
Yeah.
child. So
So
you'd
what?
find sometimes the impact
Mm.
they cause us as
Yeah.
children, we tend to live with them to adulthood.
So what you're actually saying then is that it will keep going down upon generations then if it is not dealt
Yes.
with.
If
So
it's
then
not dealt with, it will keep on affecting us. And right now, mental health is in the key of even the major cause of various forms of disabilities. So it's upon us to be able to open our eyes wide because people fall down, people commit suicide every single day.
someone just said a while ago on TikTok, say, I find it difficult sometimes to ask a colleague how they are if you feel something is wrong. Because that's the issue there, isn't it? Somebody could be going through something
Mhm.
and somebody want to help, but somehow they don't know how approach.
Yes, the approach is normally very difficult, especially when it's towards the moderate and the severe stages. It's very difficult because onset, remember we mentioned something about everybody telling us get over with it.
Yes. And I'm going to come into that in a short.
Yes,
Yeah.
that get over already shut down this person at the mild stage because everybody was like let me take for example sometimes we tend to discriminate in regards to characteristics or in regards to gender. So you'd find most of the people, especially where I come from in Africa, you'd be told as a man, get over it. A man should not show the weakness of
Mm.
challenges pinning him or her down, which definitely this man is on the verge of committing suicide, but somebody is telling him, you're a man, you should stand strong. You see, so these ones are the aspects that normally comes in, and at the end of the day, this person cannot open up, and especially when you've not established trust. Currently, we have social medias that you'd find the moment you just open up and say, this is what is happening, the next time you see your story in the social media, and probably the way it has been interpreted is totally different. So a lot of people don't want to talk about it because of also the perceptions. Like, for example, in our African community, they take mental health as a sign of witchcraft. So whom are you going to open up to? Whom are you going to tell that?
Because you're going to be stigmatized when
Yes.
so genuine, so in a way you may going through something and you want
Mhm.
to have confidence or confide in someone,
Yes.
and if you do that, that person may take it as a trigger, and
Mhm.
report it to some elders or whatever like that. So you're mad,
Yes.
and then therefore you're not being ostracized. But I want to go then into this point here. This is a very important point, as you said, generations upon generations. Therefore, trauma also cause mental health, and I'm going to
Yes.
go back into the whole issue. In recent days in the UK, there's a MP which is called Diane Abbott, which was
Mhm.
being racialized,
Mhm.
and the discussion is going on about how it was easy or it was comfortable, if anything, for the gentleman to say black woman to be shot,
Mhm.
and then it resonates and reminds people of a time which they weren't around, but it was the slavery days of a transatlantic slavery movement. The
Yes.
question now to ask is this: when someone says, because I did a post the other day on TikTok
Yeah.
and about the whole thing, and some persons hiding behind their profile was saying, "Get over it, move
Mhm.
on." You
Mhm.
know, let's talk about that. The trauma of slavery, the trauma of victims, and it keep going on and on and on upon generation. Is that something? Can you move on like that? You need to address it.
It's actually too sad, if I may be able to say that. It's a
Mm,
sad scenario, because
yes,
most of the time we might mention some words, and especially when an individual wants to be heard in the
yes,
content of what the discussion is all about.
yes,
What we don't look at is the impact that it's going to cause with the
yes.
words that we normally mention. So we may be able to just say, like, get over it, or we just say, like, this person needs to be shot.
Mm,
But do we normally realize the impact that it's going to cause this particular individual? Because I may take the word yes, but all of a sudden it will continuously ring in my mind to affirm that it will cause me a trauma. Every
mm,
single moment I remember about this particular incident, I might start having anxieties, I might start having the phobias or the fears. I may not even want to approach that particular environment because it reminds me of a particular word, it reminds me of a particular action that happened to me. So we need also to be very, very keen on our words when we are trying to raise up issues, or we are trying to
yeah.
respond to particular issues, because along the way, this is where you'd find some of us grow and live with traumas all our lives because of just one statement, one or two of the statements that was mentioned or that was said against us.
And it can be a trigger,
Yeah,
and
it's
therefore,
normally a trigger. So
and yeah,
I'm imagining this particular individual, whenever she'd be going to this space, it will ring up. This is
uh,
the space that nobody wanted to hear what I had in mind. So it will continuously ring into her mind. It's not something that will be easy to get over it, because maybe I was to advocate for a particular right that we may be having, but nobody wanted to give me that chance to hear it out.
so do you believe then, in a sense, if that is the case, especially let's use the black community for argument's sake, in
Mhm.
regards to the transatlantic slavery time, because it is not just, I believe, persons who were taken over and their families, but also the people that was left back in Africa. There must have been some torn away from families. So therefore, there's this traumatic thing which is happening. Then individuals can be assessed, but can communities be assessed then?
Yes, we normally have risk assessments, and we
Yeah.
also have the mental health assessments. Communities can be assessed, but for you to be able to achieve that, first is to raise awareness within that community. Are they
Mm,
aware on these mental health issues? Then we normally have the psychometric tests. Within
mm,
these psychometric tests, we have a number of questions that we can gauge with numbers.
yes,
These
yes.
questions can be able, we can give out questionnaires or pamphlets to individuals within that community to be
Yeah.
able to gauge if there are mental health issues within this community. Because
Mm,
sometimes we walk, but most of us walk dead. There are lots of challenges in our mind. So unless you get something that asks you, when was the last time you were sad? Or
mm,
in the last 1 week, did you feel tensed or did you feel a sort of pressure? Then out of 10, this person says yes of 2. So that means
mm,
there's a problem. There's something that made this person get tensed. So community can be well assessed as much as individuals.
mm.
Yes.
That's very interesting. So so when one thinks about it, and just like Minor Kedge said something, most people with mental health, and we go back to that point, are afraid of what they have.
Mhm.
They're afraid of the stigma in the society. That's what
Mhm.
keeps them from getting them help they need. So therefore, the question now one got to ask is, does society need to be trained in a way to recognize this in protecting the minority of persons who are suffering from mental
Yes.
health at the same time?
Yes, mental health, as for all the years, it has since been overlooked because it's something that you cannot be able to see with the naked eye. Most of the time, when it comes to the diagnostic part of it, is about the stories we tell. If
Mm,
somebody walks into the environment for a therapy, we rely on the story. And
mm,
most of the time, you'd find there's a gap in this story for you to be able to say that, yes, this particular individual has a severe bipolar. This particular individual is struggling with a PTSD. So you'd find with diagnosing somebody with mental health issue has a lot of challenges. One, there are very limited resources when it comes to mental health. So you'd
yeah.
find even the medics are so much constrained because we want treatment like a snap, something
Mm,
that I've acquired for the last 5 years. I want a medic to treat it within 7 days. At the same time, the cost of these particular therapies, look at even psychotic medications. Psychotic
mm,
medications are very expensive. You can't just walk in over the counter and say, I need this antidepressant. You
mm,
have to go through a specialist, you have to go through a psychiatrist for them to be able to prescribe that medication to you. Unlike the other forms of illnesses, you might be able to get treatment in a quicker
mm,
way. But most of the time is that assumption and the stigma and the limited resources that we have, even in our hospitals, that you'd find now persons cannot be able to get appropriate treatment.
mm. No,
Yes,
yes, it's very interesting what you're saying, and I believe that the discussion is something which need to continue as well, because one of the things I do recognize, especially in the space that I do, I walk in the park in the mornings, and there's this lovely peacefulness that it gives you, whereby you need to clear your head, your space. You're not having any mental health issues, or maybe you're mental, but it's like you're there to just free, you know, and just to be listen to the birds and everything. I believe people need to somewhat take that time for themselves, isn't it?
yes,
And
yes.
that I believe is very crucial. Main chase to show your brain all that goes into function, which is part of healthcare. If you have a tumor for it, demand the same respect. I think that's what they're talking about. The
Yes.
mental health is similar to a tumor. You need treatment.
Mhm. Yeah, because like for example, the one you just mentioned about get over with it. Why is
Yeah.
it that when somebody is sick, the sickness we can be able to see, you're not told to get over it. But when it comes to mental health, you're told to get over it. I mean, something I've had for 10 years. 10 years, and I just need one single individual to listen to me and be able to support me. The support is what also people don't understand. What form of support will I give a person with mental? Listen first, approach that particular individual, establish that rapport for that individual to trust you and open up, because some of them have gone through abuses as far as rape, sometimes even rape by relatives or even family members, or even an
Mm,
individual this person knows. Then how do you expect that this person just wakes up and tells you, I was raped? It takes
mm,
time. Yes, it takes time. So mental health needs to be respected. It's a time that we need to raise our voice because people are dying every single day with the aspect of mental health. But nobody wants to care. Even the family members sometimes they neglect. They just tell you, okay, fine. He likes closing himself in the room. Just go and check this individual. Even if
yeah.
you've stayed for 1 week without hearing a friend, maybe a close friend of yours, why can't you just call this friend and ask, are you really okay? because sometimes that shutdown, that lack of interaction can drive somebody down to the deathbed. But most of the time we just assume and say, okay, fine, I've not heard about so and so for 1 year. That 1 year, somebody might have gone completely. So with the professional assistance, they're normally constrained in forms of resources. So this is where now we advocate for mental health in the communities. Let's understand, if you see somebody walking around,
Mm.
sometimes the person might be, yes, healthy, but sometimes the person might be walking to his grave because
Yeah.
nobody wants to understand. And as I
Yeah.
mentioned to you, these therapies are so much expensive. Like, for example, you book for a CBT, you book
Mm.
for a DBT. Those therapies are very expensive. So most of the time, people just want, okay, just give me that antidepressant. And then you take this antidepressant for 30 days. You become used to it, that without it, you might not be able to function. So people end up abusing these drugs at the same time.
So what you're saying then is that the NHS doesn't facilitate very much the person with mental health because it is an unseen thing to a certain extent.
They really do. They've really done their best. Most hospitals have really done their best. The challenge now comes into the families and the communities. Can we be able to identify these symptoms at an early stage so
Mm.
that people can seek health, or can seek medical professionals so that they can be able to be supported? Because we normally assume at the healthy stage and at the mild stage. When
Mm.
people start talking, this person is already at the severe stage. The NHS are really doing a great job, because I've visited quite a number of hospitals and I'm seeing psychiatric wards, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
we are really doing something about this. So
Yes.
we really need to support our professionals. We really need also to join hands with the hospitals. We try as much as possible to do the early interventions, because you can be able to observe and see how this person relates. Is this person going down? Why is Sydial, who used to talk, all of a sudden shuts down? There's a
Yeah.
concern there.
Yeah.
There's a concern
There's a point which I just flagged up there because there are two sides to it: impact of mental health and victim of crimes.
there. Mhm.
Um, I don't have the answer for that, but I was thinking at the same time the perpetrator of crime as well.
Mhm.
Uh, uh,
Yes.
yeah, let's break on that one, the impact of mental health and victim of crime. But I also want to bring in perpetrator. Just think about it, because sometimes the one who is the
Yes.
victim sometimes becomes also a perpetrator.
And
Yeah,
this is where we need to, all of us, we need to ensure we safeguard each and every individual. But then this one normally comes as a forms of abuses. Most of the abuses that happens within our environments are, a lot of them are intentional.
yes,
Not that they really wanted to do that, but there was a drive. There was something that was pushing them to be able to go and commit that particular crime. So
yeah,
you'd find the reason as to why a lot of abuses are not intentional. It's because a lot of these perpetrators normally go through traumas which nobody identifies. It might have started as early as a young age. The parents probably were not there.
mm,
He used to go for therapies. The finances were quite
yes,
less, so I couldn't be able to manage. Nobody was there to support this particular youth, because
yeah,
at a level that somebody starts perpetuating on a crime, it didn't start overnight that I just wake up and say, I have to go and do this. It's
yes,
something that has been building up in the
building up.
mind over and over and over. Sometimes also peer influences, or even the people around you, the way you socialize and interact with them. So abuse also, it really needs to be looked into. And this is where now, as still I will be mentioning about families and community, we need to raise awareness, and especially also on safeguards and prevent, because at one particular time it can be a family member, it can be
Yes,
this particular individual who's a friend of yours, a
mm.
colleague at work, and then at the end, what will you say? I wish I could have assisted this person.
I was just thinking a while ago at the same time about, like, you know, the, is there sort of statistics as to the the age range or the professions of the persons who suffer from mental health, because of recent days I've been hearing very high professionals suffer from mental health,
Yes.
doctors and lawyers, people who are in
Mhm.
high pressure jobs. What's your take on that? Because before a time when you talk about mental health, one is thinking that it is person of a lower status, but when
Mhm.
you break it down, it's of a wider status, a wider.
Actually, mental health does not choose.
It's a respect.
Everybody at one time of your life, you'll experience a distress. The
And hold on,
prevalence,
hold on, and hold on. We got to qualify mental health to the mental ill health, isn't it? Because the mental health is, and then you got the mental ill health. That's what we're
we
talking
have
about
the
there.
mental health, which is a
Yes,
state of complete well being. It can be
yes,
physical,
hmm,
mental, or social. Then we
yes,
have mental ill health,
yes,
whereby now the health condition starts coming in. It starts affecting the way you think, the way
yes.
you interact, or even your emotions, what you feel, the way you socialize with people, and also the way you communicate. So that is
Right.
the ill. So at one point of our lives, every single individual, you'll have to face a distress. It can be even your work related. The
Mm.
prevalence of mental health majorly occurs at a younger age of around 15 to around 26.
You mean
That is
that's where it starts to build up? Is that what you're
where
saying?
it starts to build up as young as 14, 15. There, it starts to build up. And the
Yes,
reason why
yes,
it builds up a lot, it might be the trauma and also environment, because most of the time we
yes,
assume that how does environment causes mental health? Look at the
yes, yes,
environment that you raise this particular individual, the
yes,
things that happen within that environment. And this is where now accessibility needs to be key, needs to be
mm,
core in, especially when you're taking care of our young ones. We need
yes,
to ensure that our actions reflect what we'd want these particular individuals to be in the future.
yes,
Let me
yes,
take, for example, I'm in an environment that there's a lot of domestic violence, there's a lot
mm,
of abuses within that environment.
yes,
This teenage or this kid is not stupid. They see everything that is happening in this environment. Along
mm,
the way, it's going to cause a lot of trauma. When this child reaches the age of 14, 15, the child starts projecting some anger issues. It's not that this kid knew about this, it is what the environment instilled in the mind of this child. So the kid
yes,
grew up knowing if I need something, I have to fight, I have to yell, because that's what I used to see happen in my environment. If I want to do something, I have to poke into my eyes,
mm,
sneak, and pick it up. That means this kid is trying as much as possible. Let me see if stealing is a crime.
yes,
They start picking it from there. So let's be cognizant on what environments we do raise our children, because they normally pick a lot. And at
well,
one time, it will
yes,
come back to you as a parent, and you'll say, I'd wish I would have raised this kid in an appropriate
yes,
environment, accessible environment, so
yes.
that I can be able to support.
Well, can I just say then, and Minor Chegg just said something there which is really powerful. We don't see mental health much in social media because it is not the happy part of it. We see the fake part of social. I call it the fake part of social media. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
fake. I'm on media a lot, but I'm not fake. I'm
Yes.
real. But the point, but what I'm trying to say is that the environment then for young people is social media, isn't it? They're in that environment, and therefore they could be right under the guise of their parents, and
Mhm.
therefore the social media bit will start to affect them mentally. 15 to 21, you said?
Mhm.
So therefore, we could be creating a
Mhm.
massive mental imbalance in lots of young
We've
people now based
already,
on social media. Am I
we've
diagnosing
already
it right?
created
Wow. I don't,
we have already created it.
yes,
It's a Pandora box that is blowing up. Social media has taken over our children's minds, have taken
yes,
over even some of our adult minds. And most of the time we say technology, yes, technology is good. It has its pros and cons. Because nowadays, at what point
mm,
do families sit down and just interact without their phones, without the TVs there? At what point does a parent can be able to blend with this child, interact with this child, even be able to communicate with this child? It's always in the social media. I've ever handled a
Yeah.
family that the wife is in the kitchen, the husband is in the sitting room, and the husband texts the wife over the phone, I need some salt. Communication has been limited there.
Listen, you're so right. You're so right. When I, as you're talking, I'm just picturing it right there now with social media and the fact that social media is somehow trying to regulate your life because I'm on my phone and I'll walk in the park and then the ring thing will come up and say you need to do 67 more calories or you could have done more or if I'm not online a lot, it says
Mhm.
you're down, your time on social media was down, you need to increase it. So it is like it is, you're now being controlled or trying to be controlled.
Mhm.
And I believe
Mhm.
that is where the pressure now will come upon young
Yes.
people or impressionable minds, even persons of a elder age. And that is
Mhm.
where mental health creeps in, which is
Yes, and the
powerful. Yeah.
social media has made a lot of us currently, we are struggling with anxiety disorders,
Yes, yes, yes,
happening every single time. Some of us have become very, or not even very, extremely addicted to these phones of ours, to anything to do with technology. That eating disorders have come in. You'd find somebody would rather sit down on the phone, on the laptop, not to eat. You'd find somebody would miss out even the family time, would miss out even the child who's about to commit suicide in the next second, just because I'm glued to TikTok, just because
wow,
I'm glued to Instagram. I would want to see what people are posting. But most of the time, this life in the social media is vague and they've
yes,
already taken control of our brains. So I'm really playing, and especially with parents, let's see how well we can spend a lot of time with our kids if they're away from school, rather than just buying for them gadgets to
to
keep
keep,
them busy.
yes,
Because we are in a world of we are in a world of pressure.
yes, yes,
Everybody has pressure. But then this young child, there's a reason as to why you're the parent. You're supposed
yes.
to hold on to this kid and give the support that is necessary so that
Mm,
the child can be able to grow, the mind can be able to grow appropriately, because most of the time what is
yes,
projected is what I see in social media, and this is where abuses have become so much, crimes are now so much, just because everything we learn from social media. How can I be able to do this? How can I be able to do this? So this kid picks up because the parent doesn't care. Mom, I want, can you be able to assist me with my homework? No, I'm busy. Can you go and watch your TV? Can you go and use your phone to get answers? So
yes,
you'd
yes,
find kids are also losing it up because we are not there to support them. So
yes,
let's try as much, and this is where you'd find we're having a lot of our kids with learning difficulties because of
yes,
every time they're engraved into the social media. You'd
mm,
find even writing becomes a problem
yeah,
because nowadays it's about computer.
yeah.
This kid
Well,
cannot write the name because the
yeah.
computer is there. Yes.
No, that's powerful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. I'm with Blaise and Acheng, talking about mental health, mental ill health, and mental health, and it's really good. I mean, it's like near to an hour now, but we just even could touch like 5 minutes of the whole thing. So we'll have to do a part two or part three. And I believe it's very important that a subject like this is maintained and is continued. But I want to ask you about biomedical approach to mental health. What some of the, does it work in a sense?
Yes, with the biomedical, this is where now we get into the moderate and the severe stage where professionals need to come on board. When it comes to the mild stage, we can be able to offer some care and support. We can
Yes,
be able to engage these particular individuals in activities, like,
yes,
for example, the community activities, like, for example, even support groups. So,
yeah,
basically, like myself, when it comes to Uplivity, we normally engage most of our clients on support groups.
yes,
Most of them have lived experiences, so they can be able to
yes,
share their stories. And out of their stories, you'd find one particular individual tells you, sincerely, me, I'm already okay, because that story was a real story. So you'd find when they share these stories, it gives them that, they can be able to heal emotionally, they can be able to have the confidence to voice up and mention to us what exactly is going on in their life so that you can get the appropriate support. When it comes to the severe stage, this is where now we need the medics. No matter how sometimes we point fingers at them, but a medic cannot be able to treat an illness within one day. So we
Yeah.
also need to have patience at the core of our treatment. We also need to ensure that we follow the medic's advice. If you're told to go to use your antidepressants for a period of 30 days, try as much as possible to continuously use them. Because when you break that cycle, automatically you'll go back and it will start. And this time, it will
Mm.
going to hit you down. So there's a reason why a professional would tell you, can you be able even to take your leave for 7 days? Because he wants you to rest. Rest is so much important, and most of the people just assume like, no, I need to work, I need to get money.
Right.
But
So what you're saying when they're asked to go and rest, it is not an opportunity to go and take a break to go all over the place. It is really to
yes,
rest.
you need to rest. The mind, once the mind has shut down, every single faculty within your system
Wow.
will shut
Wow.
down, because the mind is the engine of the system. That's where you'd find sometimes somebody has, the mind is shutting down. My knees, I start having arthritis. I start
Yes.
having back problems. I can't eat. I can't talk. High blood pressure is coming in. Diabetic is hitting me. So the mind is everything. Just as physical health, mental health needs to be at the core in every single awareness. We need to voice up on this.
So, in essence, what you're saying is this: if you don't take care of your mental health and yourself, you won't be able to take care of those who you really want to take care of.
You
In
will
a way.
not. You will not.
So
It
you
starts.
really need, so you really need to take the time out for yourself in
Yes.
order to be able to take care of others as well.
It
Yeah,
starts. Everything starts with you.
yeah. So tell me before we go, I'm going to wrap up now. Um, what are your key pointers then, Blaze? For someone who is listening now and they may be wondering what to do or what to say and maybe feel stigmatized if they open up to say, man, I'm feeling like this and I don't want to share it, but what should they do? What's the advice?
I'm really encouraging individuals outside there, try as much as possible to find a support group, or try as much as possible to speak up. Because
Mm,
if they continue not, suppressing it within themselves, that container is almost getting full and it's boiling. And when it
yeah.
boils, that is when we start running around. Why did it happen? Where was so and so to help? So we really don't want that to happen. Try as much as possible to speak up.
Mm,
Professionals are outside there. Therapists are outside there. Psychologists are outside there. Advocates like myself, activists are outside there. Try as
mm.
much as possible to get someone you can be able to voice out to.
Wow, wow. Well, I want to thank you so much for this conversation that we had, and of course, one cannot go beyond more because one of the reasons I want to keep it within the hour is so someone can listen. But just looking at some other persons, someone said also people who come to the UK they need to understand all the supports available here in the UK. What I've been putting up there is couple contact like mental health hotline is available there, what you
Yes.
can see there, and a few bits and pieces there like call 116, talk to Samaritans, that is running across the screen there as
Mhm.
well, to contact the shout crisis. So Google is a good friend when it comes on to seeking help. People definitely go to Google and
Mhm.
and remember remember you're on point. What is that? You got to explain that to me. Is that what's that?
You're right. Remember, it's a Kiswahili word. It's a Kiswahili word in the East Africa,
Yes.
meaning a lady. Yes, you're on point. Lady, you're on point, or a beautiful
Okay.
lady, you're on point.
You have said everything I've been told. I know I'm better for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember your point. I'll make sure I take a picture of that and look at it so I can say that someone getting into my Kenyan roots or so like that. Um, I was just talking about Kenya the other day. I mean, but I won't go into
Mhm.
it. I was following Kenyan politics the other day with Haiti, but I won't talk about that now. That has nothing to do with this discussion.
Oh, that one will now bring the mental health aspect
Oh,
in.
okay. I
Yes,
think if that happened, all the MPs then would be in a mental meltdown, isn't it, in Kenya there, if anything like that.
everybody's melting down. Everybody's melting down. And Sidol, you better start be an advocate. For me, with mental health and human rights, I'm on the call because I feel the
Yeah.
pinch. I lost a friend when I started Uplivity. I lost a friend
Mm.
to suicide, and that's when I said no. I have to uplift people, and that's the name Uplivity.
Right.
God, yeah,
Right. That's where that comes from. That's
yes,
that's the story. That's the story behind it.
yes.
It is Blaze and Etching founder up Liberty. So you're up
You
Liberty.
uplift. Yes, you uplift.
All right.
We all have a candle, Sidol. We all have a candle. Let's
Yes.
unite each and every
Yes.
individual's candle.
Yes. Yes, no, this is really powerful, and I hope that person listening, and ladies and gentlemen, if you want to email Blaze and there, that's our email there, blaze and at gmail.com. This was a powerful session, a good discussion, talking about mental health and talking about how we can be better. Because as I said before, growing up in Jamaica, when you hear the word mental health, you're actually thinking that you're mad, you know. But then after a while, you realize that mental health is actually just like having a good health, you
I'm
know.
in a
If you
good
got,
health.
yeah, if you got if you got diabetes, so you got these different things. There's a part
Mhm,
of your physical health. Mental
mhm.
health is the same way, and therefore it can go into mental ill health,
In health,
and that
yes.
is where one need to have a understanding and to navigate this.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important thing which came out today is that don't worry about being stigmatized
Yeah.
by coming out and speak. Don't worry about persons wanting to stigmatize you, because if you keep quiet, you die
Hmm.
naturally. Can you tell us what happens and how does someone break down and maybe commit suicide? What can trigger that and lead to it before we go?
That
Sorry.
is the point. That is the point of being
Yeah,
severe. In the severe stage that people have mentioned to you, get over it. You're trying the antidepressants. Probably
yeah,
you've already become used to it. Maybe your finances are now going down. You've lost your job because nobody wants to understand why we've employed somebody with mental health, and yet they have a right. They can be employed, yes, but through
mm,
support. You can be able to offer appropriate support that
mm,
somebody with a mental health condition can be able to work. So you'd
yeah,
find when it comes to the suicidal thoughts, most of the times, and the people I've interacted with and I've tried as much as possible to assist, most of the time they're driven by the hallucinations.
yes,
Hallucinations is where you'd start hearing voices in your mind telling you, Sidol, do this. Sidol, do this. And when it's telling you, do this, it's giving you a very sweet voice of, Sidol, you're seated in a 14-story building and tells you, you can be able to fly.
but isn't that where the church comes in? People say it's the devil.
Yes, this is where people start saying, because of the hallucinations, people start saying the voodoos are now working. This person has been bewitched. So you'd find those voices that keeps on ringing
Wow,
in these individuals' mind
wow,
as a result of those traumas, as a result of stigmatizations that we receive and discrimination within that environment. Now the person says, no, I can't have it. I can't have it. And the moment somebody mentions suicide, you
mm,
need to offer support urgently, because
yes,
this is where the second time they will mention it, the third time it's done.
wow, wow. Okay,
Because those voices are normally very heavy and they will push you. They will tell you the first time, they won't keep
mm,
quiet. They'll come back again the second time and tell you you
right,
better do it. And you feel
wow,
like you're saving yourself because it soothes you like everything will be all right. If you just end your life, you're going to be fine.
yes, yes, yes.
But
Well,
there's
well,
no
thank you.
time.
Mm. Well, thank you so much, Blazan, for coming on tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining in. Those on TikTok, those on Facebook, YouTube. and also Instagram as well. I've seen some persons over there. Very powerful topic, and of course you can watch the replay and you can share the video as well, because it will be helpful for someone out there. And if you can save a life, it was worth it as well. Blazan, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and all the best. And thank you so much. All right.
Thanks a lot. In Swahili we say asante sana.
Asante sana, and that means
Thank you very much.
thank you. So I'll say Asante Sanya. Thank you so much as
Yes.
well. Peace
And
out.
good night.
Thank
Okay,
you.
cheers.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining as well, and thank you for joining on the show. And remember to like and subscribe. I'll be back, all being well, tomorrow night, and on in review, where we look at the top news and review the news. And Saturday night, talk and sip. And following week, I'll be off, and on the 24th, it will be the anniversary of the Sylbourne show. So have a good night, peace out, and all the best. And thank you so much again. Wonderful. Peace out.